let's get right into this, Preston. You are amazing. When I had a conversation with you over the phone, and, I bring on to the Facebook Lives and my YouTube channel and the interviews that I've done in the past, people that I feel are so inspiring and that are changing the world in the most amazing ways. And I like to highlight you guys, men and women that are doing this. So I'm going to read your bio because I don't want to leave anything out. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. All right, everybody, you ready? So Preston Weeks, starting with one $1,600 car, he reinvested in himself and wrote his own rags to riches story, eventually owning and co-owning 15 car dealerships and multiple vertical businesses, grossing over $60 million in annual sales. In 2012, he was ranked the #1 independent car buyer in the Intermountain West. He became the COO of a renewable energy startup that he led to a successful exit in 2019. He's a published author and serves on the board of multiple companies. He consulted with many high-up organizations like Mark Victor Hansen from Chicken Soup for the Soul, Ben Carson, Secretary of the United States Housing and Urban Development, the United States Postal Service, the Department of Energy, and more. Now he builds people and companies as he owns and co-owns over 20 small businesses that support entrepreneurs. His passion is treating people to be emotionally powerful in life. Welcome, Preston, to Life on Track, where it's all about helping people get on the track they were born into this world to be on. Not my track, not your track, their special track with their God-given gifts and their own hidden power. Yeah. So let's get into it. How did you get into doing what you're doing and why?
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's so much fun to be here. And it's so cool what you're doing too, like to highlight people, because entrepreneurs are solution creators. That's why I love entrepreneurship, and since what led me here is being an entrepreneur at heart. Ever since I was a little kid, I was going to, school, and I was trying to figure out how to make money. And so I'd bring candies to school and sell them at school when I was in second grade.
I love it.
I was doing little businesses, and I figured I could buy a bag of candy, for $2 and sell them for $0.25 each. And I'd make $5 and I'd make money, and it was fun. So it got me into business, but I've been doing business ever since. And so, my evolution, I started in the car business, like you had mentioned, and I'm a car nut. But really, I loved helping people too. And that was part of why I was successful in the car business, because I was trying to help people get transportation. I was trying to help people, accomplish the things that they want to in life. And I was trying to provide opportunities for the people that I worked with. And that's why I scaled the company, so I could take care of, my friends and my family and the people in the community and stuff like that. And so I had the opportunity to do fun things like hire my aunt and, change her life around and get her out of debt and, do all these other impact things that are outside of the success of my business. Right. Wow. But I did that in the car business. But now, I've moved more into the impact, business, where I'm into a lot of different things. It's hard to say, whatever, because I build businesses. I'm a business builder at heart.
Right.
But, everything I do supports entrepreneurs, and it's things that help me in my life. And so I do automations, and I'm in the publishing scene, and all these different areas of, business that help entrepreneurs to grow.
I love it. And I don't know what's going on with my screen. I'm trying to highlight you, and it's highlighting me.
That's okay. No, I know. That's what's fun about running these live shows is, you always have the tech and the things that you have to deal with.
It's so funny.
And it's a challenge too, as a host, because you're trying to pay attention to what's happening. You're trying to pay attention to 50 things. So I commend you, for doing what you do and pulling this off, because I know I've been behind the controls too.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And I love everything that you're doing. Talk to us about the 10-step books.
Yeah. So 10-step books, that's an exciting new thing that I'm launching. So I got into the book business because I actually started working with a guy named Mark Victor Hansen. Now, those of you who don't know who Mark Victor Hansen is, he wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul books, The Latin Factor, 1 Minute Millionaire, Power of Focus, all these other amazing books. He's done 59 #1 New York Times bestsellers.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with him, and I ran operations for him and his company. And he actually, a long time ago, was a client of mine in my car business. So I had a lot of high-end clients. I had a company called Car Finder, and I'd buy people's cars for them and do this white glove service. And I'd really take care of my clients, and I developed these relationships because I wouldn't lie. I was full of
Good. That's
integrity.
always important. And
I did what I said I would do. Yeah. And I took care of people, and that translated out when I got out of the car business. Those people, I became consultants to their company because I ended up being someone who could really scale companies. And so I worked with Mark, and I was helping him, and the COVID hit and the whole thing blew up, and no speaking events were happening. I go, how do we do something to help people? And so we did an author training program, and that author training program snowballed because people go, oh, well, yeah, I want to write a book, but also I need to publish it, or I need help editing it, or I need a cover, or I need, all these other things. And I'm a solutions guy because that's what entrepreneurs are.
Right.
And so that turned into, basically, a short story is that turned into a publishing company called the Mark Victor Hansen Library, where now we're publishing tons of books all the time.
Yes.
And, so the training program evolved and turned into a big company, employ a bunch of people, and we're publishing people's impact stories, which is so much fun. But now that's evolved to my new project, the 10-Step Book Project, because I'm taking experts' stories and I'm telling, or experts' solutions, and I'm telling them in 10 simple steps. And so it's kind of like a concept similar to a simplified idea, like maybe a Cliff Notes brand or a Dummies brand, but we're taking expert solutions and we're highlighting the expert. And so people can come and they can take over a category if they're approved to be a 10-step expert, and we'll publish the book. But we're going beyond the book, because a lot of times people publish a book, and what's sad is no one even sees these books sometimes. Right. So many books, like I don't know what the exact percentage is, but too many books that get published don't even sell over 100 copies, much less over 1,000 copies. So they're not making the reach and the impact that people want. So what I learned from Mark Victor Hansen, the reason why Chicken Soup for the Soul was so successful and ended up selling for high 8 figures as a brand, was because they built a company behind the book. So you need to build a brand behind the book, and the book becomes a foundation for everything you do. But you need to be the trumpet, and the brand needs to be the vehicle to share that message out there in the world. And so
absolutely. And I love Mark Victor Hansen. You know that. And I shared the stage with Mark Victor just a couple of weeks ago in Arizona at Eric Swanson's event at Speaker Hearts, where I met you also in Eric's mastermind. Yeah. And I literally, call Ripley if I cry. You know what I mean? I'm not a crier. I'm more solution oriented.
Yeah.
And your father impacted me, and Mark Victor Hansen impacted me in the most amazing ways, along with Sharon Lecter. And they were both there at the same time, especially during 2020. I mean, they were so kind and so generous at a very difficult time in my life that I'm not going to get into right now. But when having them both there in person, the love and the respect and the love, and I just was so in gratitude and with regard to the kind of people that they are, the success that they have, but they have the success, and you as well, because of the kind of people that you are, with your generosity and you wanting to over deliver. And you said, taking care of your clients and wanting people's books to go beyond just publishing it, because books many times become like a high class business card, right. And it doesn't really generate as much as you think it's going to when you're writing it and you're publishing, because you want the world to experience what it is you want to impart. Right.
Yeah.
So I learned a word from you today. And it was so fun. I'm like, okay, before we go on screen, on a Facebook Live, could you please tell me what polymath means? So you are a polymath. Explain to everybody watching what a polymath is. And
Yeah, well, it's an expert in many things, and so yeah, poly meaning many, and yeah, it's nothing to actually do with mathematics. I'm okay with mathematics. My kids are amazing with mathematics. I have three amazing kids, 10-year-old twins and a 12-year-old, and my 12-year-old just graduated sixth grade, and he tested into the junior high and got into ninth grade math. Which
Wow.
is cool.
Wow.
But
Well,
yeah, no,
wait a
I'm good at.
second. I'm 2 years older than my twin sisters also growing
Oh,
up.
okay,
Yeah, yeah. And they're gonna be very close, as they get older. But go
very
ahead.
cool.
So
Yeah.
that's the polymath. So that's you do many different things and you do them successfully, which there's got to be a strategy to that. So what is it that you would say you do that has you successful in multiple different companies all at the same time?
Well, and that leads back to my passion project, and you touched on it, but really, my whole life, I make money building businesses and creating incredible solutions that help people's lives. But my passion, and I have a little company I do this too called Formula EQ, and I have a partner in London. But the reason why I'm successful is because of what I've learned from all these amazing mentors in my life that have taught me to be the person that I am and to show up as the person that I am and to believe in myself and to love my life and appreciate me for what I am and then the people around me too in a deep way. And it's not like a way that people talk about it. I was talking with another guy, and you always just say, be happy all the time, and this, and just like be happy. It's like no, it's not like just being happy. It's actually like understanding how to live in a state
Mm,
of joy and abundance. And that's where you say those people like Sharon Lechter and Mark Victor Hansen, I love like Sharon. Well, obviously, I love Mark and have a major relationship with Mark, but Sharon too. I've done a ton of things with Sharon, and she has that spirit where, it's beyond her what
right,
she does. Like she's mission driven
right.
to accomplish, and she's brilliant. She's a brilliant woman,
Yes.
and she's an anchored, soul, and and so all these things. But what happens, in the world is we get confused as people. It's part of human nature to get confused as people, and those confusions that we let distract us from what we want to do or who we want to be, they stop us from living the life that we actually want.
Right.
And sometimes those confusions we end up adopting as a reality. Sometimes that's stuff on like the media, like the news, or like stuff like that. I call it passive and active consumption. If you want a
Yeah.
guideline in your life, I only consume things as a rule. I only consume things that I intentionally want to learn about. So I don't just sit there and like be fed information. So I'm more in control of my life. But all these people that master it on an experiential level, because what's common with humans is it doesn't matter where you live or what you believe or how much money you make or what religion you are or what political party you are or what gender you are. The human experience is actually the exact same.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and the situation, and what I mean by that is the situations change, but we all go through a situation and we experience sadness or we experience joy or we experience pain or pleasure or love or anxiety or fear, right? And that is the same in every human, no matter who you are, no matter where you are across the world. And so if we can learn to manage that, that's what I focus on. And that's what I do to build powerful people, teach people to understand that actually all those things, all those emotions, actually you're the creator of them and they only exist because of you. and you created that connection to that thing. And once we understand that, we can start to build a new relationship with that stuff and get control over it, so we're actually becoming a master of our lives. And when you look at these super successful people, they've become masters of their lives in some realm, on some level, a lot.
And I think what happens also, and I was just discussing this with a client right before we hopped on, is most people don't realize that they are conscious creators. Like everything based on what we're thinking, speaking, and acting is what we are manifesting, creating, same concept. And the majority of the world doesn't understand what you and I discuss, and Mark and Sharon, with regard to spiritual universal law. And mastering self. And when, like you said, when you for everybody listening, when you can get control over, I didn't call it positive and negative, I call it empowering and disempowering, because there is such a thing as toxic positivity. It's called denial. Right? Denial is not a good thing. But when you can practice to the point it becomes a habit of only thinking empowering thoughts, canceling out something negative that comes in, and you get to be a pro at it, and I learned this at 25, and I started, with a cancer diagnosis, and most people listening know that. And the doctors kept telling me I was going to die. And I didn't know anything about it until the diagnosis, the personal development stuff. And I was just consuming all of the books, all of the great books, because I learned it was a thing. I believed it. I went from seeking to knowing to understanding to being in harmony with universal law. And I became a manifesting queen, like literally defying the odds. And the doctors would call my parents to come say goodbye to me in the hospital in Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. And I was like, get out. And I kept living. I had to have 3 kids that they swore would never happen. Grew my businesses in amazing ways after the divorce, which again, I was shocked, and all that kind of stuff. It was very similar to the cancer. And when you can master what Preston is speaking about, and I live it, when you can live in harmony with spiritual universal law and just give it a whirl, if you don't believe in it, if you think it's woo-woo and you think it's out there, like the law of vibration, everything vibrates, and the law of attraction is secondary to the law of vibration. You attract to you the people, place, and things based on the frequency you're emitting, right? The vibration. So if people could, and there's so many spiritual universal, life is a boomerang, right, Preston? Life is what you put out there is what you get back. It's a boomerang. So when you can, even when everything is hitting the fan, and you could just still find things to be grateful for and know everything is happening for you, and just keep pressing, and persistence is everything, and get through to the other side. I say all the time, there's so much glory in the valley. That's where all the best lessons happen. And then the next mountain peak is always higher. So let's get into,
one thing I love what you mentioned, about that, because I want to touch more on that, like the whole conscious creators thing, because we are, and I love to get into, debates with this about people, because I wanted to. There was this one lady who was this like kind of negative news reporter who reached out to me. I was fielding some PR stuff, for the company, but she was like a negative person. She didn't believe in the law of attraction, and her intent, I could tell by her questions, was to disprove the law of attraction, right? And so, and I wanted to sit there and debate with her, but I didn't want to become the poster child of Billboard magazine, and so. That I didn't buy into, the energy, right? But when you look at that and you go, look, I ran a renewable energy company, and I learned a lot about energy, right? Energy itself, and energy affects a lot of different things, and it has effect on different things around us in different ways. And our bodies are actually like a generator, like a Honda generator. You pour gasoline in, and it puts output, and we're the same way. We have fuel. Take the fuel, our body breaks down that fuel, turns it into energy, right? It actually turns it into energy. So we're an energy generator. But here's what I learned. This isn't a barrier.
Right.
Yeah, that energy doesn't stop right here, and this is actually a conductor.
An emitter, right.
And this is measurable through millions of different things. But I mean, just like that MEG, the magneto electroencephalogram, that they use to measure your brain waves, is a helmet that doesn't touch your head. And that helmet reads your thoughts, right? And so like something's happening, like some real things are happening and real energy is transmitted. And that energy has an effect on the things around you. And also other people are receivers too, right? Whether you can see it or not, other people are receivers and parts of your environment are receivers. And those things are true. And in time and space, this device right here, I can call you, and you and I are really far apart right now, but I could call you, and in time and space, you and I can be connected together and we can communicate using this. Right. And that's true, right? And this is true, and this is true. So right. the only argument is distance.
Right. Right. And I also believe resonating, like how you're the frequency you're giving off, because I do believe in the infinite field also of, like where you're resonating. I also think that's why like people that are low vibe, like if you want to gossip and judge, don't come to me. My love language is quality time. If it's not quality time, it's a waste of my time. And I just don't want to be in the energy of the low vibe thing, because I understand that, like you're saying, this is not a boundary. This is where our physical body is this big, and that's generous compared to who we truly are energetically. Yeah. That's why you could feel people, their energy before they even reach the room. You can feel somebody's energy just by talking to them over the phone, and energy can't be created nor destroyed. Right. So it's just, we're born into this world with, as energetic beings, electromagnetic, head-heart coherence, electronically emit, giving out to, and magnetically attracting back to us the people, place, and things that'll keep our thoughts, make our thoughts the reality, right? Yeah. So if we understand that, and it's scientifically proven, Dr. Joe Dispenza did a great job putting all that on the map, right? And it could be it's scientifically proven, then how come they don't teach this in the schools and in the places of worship? And people, it's still, I believe it's because once you become like you and I, and you're empowered, you can't be controlled. Right. They'll never teach you how to make a lot of money. Because they want to be able to control people. And that's why I'm on fire to bring people like you on to talk about this and to because you may say something that I wouldn't say that'll just resonate through everybody. And the more this conversation is had, the more people can start waking up like they are now. I couldn't talk about this like I wanted to in the 90s. They thought I was crazy about meditation and visualization and affirmations. They thought I was nuts. But now,
and two, like when you think about it, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, but I get excited. When you think about it, like medically too, like even from the medical side of things, like usually when you take like a drug, well, first of all, they're mostly symptomatically covering a symptom. They're not curing the problem, but that's a whole nother thing. But, second of all, they're usually causing a gland or some body system to kick off and react. So it's still the body that's doing the healing. It's not the drug, that's doing the healing. And if it's the body that is doing the healing, then the only thing that we need to learn is that trigger of that system. If we can gain control of that system, and that's why you healed yourself. Yeah. And that's why I have had multiple personal friends who have also healed themselves when the doctor said, no, you're going to have to come in for surgery. And they come in 3 months later and said, I don't know what happened. The tumor's gone.
Yes. And it's so fun. It's so fun. I could talk to you all day long. It's so fun because when you not just understand it, but when you're being in harmony with what you and I are talking about, it happens to me all the time. Yeah. Besides the cancer, and I agree with you, I focused on excellent health because what we focus on is what we're going to receive, what we get, what we expect, right? So I didn't focus on the disease. I focused on excellent health, white light coming through the crown. I talked about this on the stage also a few weeks ago, coming through the crown, going through the body, grounding, right, through the center of Mother Earth, bringing up the nutrients from the center of Mother Earth, like just all of that visualization and meditation and stuff like that. All right, so that was the cancer. I cured myself of cancer. Then I went on to have 3 kids that they swore, because it was a crazy, egregious 2.5-year protocol. They swore I'd never have kids with no medical intervention whatsoever. And I didn't store my eggs. I had 3 kids because I visualized and meditated on it. And to the highest good of all concerned, you know, because I always say, you know, if it's God's will, thy will be done, kind of a thing.
Well, I can't tell you too, you know, just on the kid side of things, I have personally known, I have no real statistical data. This is personal experience, but I have known so many personal friends where they were very concerned and stressed out and worried, and they wanted to have a child, right? They tried for usually 7 or 8 years, unsuccessfully, gave up, and then got pregnant.
I know.
Right. You know, because of whatever they had going on that was stopping them, it was mental.
Right.
You know,
it becomes forced.
Which is a different angle of healing yourself, but it's the same thing you did. You just did it in a different, you know, like situation, but same idea, right? You know?
My beautiful neighbors across the street, I love them so much. And they tried for 15 years to get pregnant. And they tried. And the minute they brought home their adopted son, she found out she was pregnant. You know, so they're only like 9 months apart, the 2 boys. But I did the same thing. I was having bad pains in my stomach. And long story short, I had a sonogram, and the doctor, the radiologist, said, look at that string of pearls. It was gallstones. I saw the thing on that string of pearls. I saw it myself. And I'm really into, okay, I'm going to meditate and visualize and everything else. And I did. And just about the healthy body and that kind of a thing. They took out the gallbladder and there were no stones. No stones. Like, this happens to me. You know, and listen, the world is designed to give us obstacles. It's what do we do when we face the challenge? I say we're like Pac-Man. We're living intentionally, conscious creators, but then we get activated, right? The world throws us an obstacle or a challenge, and then we're like the activated Pac-Man, and then we go back to being the conscious creator on the other side of it. And it's life is a game. There's a book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, by Florence Scovel Shinn, that was written in the early 1900s. Great book. So let's get back into because there's so many things I want to talk to you about. You're brilliant, and you how to automate your business. You're a brain coach. I mean, there's so much that you do. Let's get into automate your business.
Yeah. So, well, I got into business automations because I started scaling, you know, companies, trying to figure out how to scale my companies. And I did that different ways through my car dealership. And I started with by myself, right? And then I that's why I got really good at helping consult people, because I was dumb enough to do it by myself. And for 15 years, scaled my own business and went through all these different pains. But I did it, went from a single person business to a multi-location, multi-vertical with 15 locations, you know, so, and many employees and different things. And so I learned a lot along the way, but to go from 1 to 2 and then employees, and then 1 location to 2 locations, and then 1 company to 2 companies, and then all these, you know, steps along the way, and failing and picking back up and paying for the mistakes and stuff. But anyway, you know, I love streamlining and making things efficient. In 2010, I think it was, I read the book 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Fell in love with that. I hired staff in the Philippines and started doing things kind of in my own automated kind of way or whatever, is to scale low cost efficiencies. That helped me scale the car business. Now there's real automation. I still have staff in the Philippines. Love them. I started a company doing that and then got out of that for a little while. That's another story. But you know, now we just build the solutions. And so I have a platform that I use that we got into from necessity, because COVID hit and all the speaking came off when I built the publishing company, like I was saying, and we had to have a platform to put everything into. And I bought all the platforms, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and ended up where I ended up on this platform. And so, and then ended up with the rights to the platform. So now now we build out things, and I sell the platform. But you can automate business processes. There are little things that you have to do all the time, like customer interactions, email responses, networking follow-ups, stuff like that. I mean, we'll build courses, we'll build digital products, we'll automate. That's standard stuff, funnels, those types of things. But you can get into these tiny things, and if you can save yourself as a small business person like 20 minutes a day, that's 3 weeks over the year, like literally 3 entire work weeks.
Yes.
And so it's so cool, because you go, okay, if I spend 20 minutes a day doing follow-ups, if I can program a bot to do those follow-ups and book the appointment for me, I just got 3 weeks back. Then I can either scale my company, I can go on vacation more, I could, whatever, you start like having these options, right? To do things in life and business. So that's what I love, is figuring out those things and kind of building these cool solutions. So like I have one, where I'll build, like a solution for like stage, like a talk on stage. And I didn't do anything for here today, but I'll do a little QR code or a text or response to, send people back into the system and follow up with them. And so, it's fun stuff that streamlines your life. But yeah, the automation, and now AI, now we're integrating AI, and then that's the next level. And I keep telling people, and people are like, well, what is AI? Like, just, you got to try and integrate it. Whatever it is, you have to be exploring it and trying it. Because if you don't, your competitors will.
Right.
And they're going to have such an advantage over you that you won't even understand it. It's not like they're getting a double advantage. They're getting like a 100x advantage. It's not like, these little gains.
Let me ask you a quick question about that, because a lot of people get stuck. I'm 58 years old. I didn't grow up, with a phone in my hand and technology and stuff like that. I love delegating.
Right.
I delegate. I love my team. I have a professional team and I have a personal team. My personal team is my, the girl who cleans my house and the landscaper, and like, just, I have a whole personal team and the professional team.
Mm-hmm.
Delegation to me is huge, and I'm not technically inclined. I've tried, it's just not part of my gift set, and I've tried it big time. So I delegate and gain so much time back into my life to scale. And like you said, to be able to have free time. Right. How important is it, would you say, for somebody like me to go in there and try to learn everything about AI as opposed to delegating it for somebody else to do it for me?
Well, you just, whatever it is, it's critical that you try to incorporate AI in your business. So whatever that looks like, if someone else is doing it, that's fine. If someone else is looking at it, but you need to be feeding them like, hey, can we look at AI for this? Can we look at AI for this? The different, because there's lots of different categories. So then it goes down to, what are you doing? Like, we have stuff for video processing, like I have, obviously, that everyone knows ChatGPT. I train and people are like, oh, it's going to take away jobs. No, now I'm teaching my assistants to scale. I train all my assistant, who's Filipino, on ChatGPT, and I book time for her and her schedule to go learn it. I'm like, spend 2 hours today studying new AI technology and give me a report of what you learn.
That's fabulous. Right. It's fabulous. And then how do you stay ahead of, because it's changing constantly, like ChatGPT, people are using ChatGPT on its own. Then it was like, no, you can't do that. You have to run it through this other AI and then another AI and then filter all that together, and then you can use it. Like, how do you stay ahead of all of that,
Yeah. I mean, it's evolving, always. Like, there's definitely ways to use Chat GPT, and you don't want to take the personality out of what you do. this is an interesting thing, because we're going into an era of AI and supercomputing and different things like that. And what that means is that all the information in the world is accessible at our fingertips. Almost. It's getting there. It will be, but it's getting there. So we're going to exist in a world like that. We kind of do already, almost, on some levels. So this is a good theoretical question. What is the value of content creation, right, in the future? It's an interesting. I own publishing companies. I own 2 publishing companies.
Right.
Like, what's the value of content creation in the future? And it's an interesting question to ask. And I think if you have a long debate and you chase out all the topics, what I've got down to is the personal aspect, the personal relationship, side of it. And I think that's the power of the currency of the future. So and also what that looks like today for people to access that is authenticity, and even authenticity on the deeper level is vulnerability. Right? Vulnerability, and so keeping that in mind, going, okay, yes, I use AI in my life. I utilize AI to streamline the world to come, so I can spend more time like this, you and I, face to face, talking. Right. So I got all the other stuff done. So that's how I first look at it as, and I acknowledge that on the front end. I don't try to replicate myself. I go, this is Preston's team or whatever, I don't replicate it as me. Right. And so that was where the integrity and the trust and the authenticity comes in. And then 2, I use it to brainstorm a lot, because it can brainstorm. It's like having an assistant who knows everything, and who can tap into other skill sets and techniques in a mass amount, faster than I can. And so I go, okay, I use it to brainstorm, and I take those ideas and I add my personality and my personal stories and my opinions and my things, which creates that connection, right? And so, and I had a client the other day that was consulting with me. I'm not publishing their book, someone else is, but they've met with me once. And like, can I use, AI? I'm like, yeah, you can use AI. You need to be using AI, and then, like, I met with them for like an hour. I taught them how to use AI, and then, not in complete depth, I guess. And then they come back and they're like, I wrote my book, but they just did the whole thing in the prompts. They didn't even edit it, and they just published the AI. And he's like, I took it to my editor and they said I shouldn't use the AI. I was like, well, I didn't mean like replace yourself. Like,
right.
No. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Like,
use it as a tool.
Yeah.
Use it as a tool. And then, like you said, you have to keep your voice,
right,
and who you are.
Yeah.
Authenticity has 4,000 times a higher vibration than love. That's how important authenticity is. We're here to be fully ourselves, not be the Erin Ley that my parents want me to be, or the Erin Ley that my kids want me to be, or friends. Like, we have to be true to ourselves. And I love what you mentioned about, because to me, authenticity is everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like the success that I've had comes from being authentic, obviously, and integrity and character, but also vulnerable, and also naive at many times. Naivete, because I wasn't in fear. I was naive. Most people would have been terrified, but I was just so naive. I just went for it,
Yeah.
And but I believe that those qualities are super important in success, personally and professionally. And connection is everything, connection and success doesn't just mean money. Success means that you have a whole life. That's why Life on Track is about having a life on track personally and professionally. You can't have one being wildly successful, but the other is bleeding, and vice versa. So
that's why when you asked me that question, what's the key, thing? And I said, it's that emotional intelligence space I've learned, myself. And it's because I learned a key differentiator in my deepest failures, right? That I am the creator of success.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
am not my failure. So
Mm.
I can have a sale not go through, and I can have a company fail. I can have a product not work. But I've realized that that product failed. The product wasn't a great idea, but I am a creator of amazing things. And I've done so many products that work, and I've helped so many people or whatever, so I'm just saying, like, I don't have a product that didn't work for them. But I had a car dealership, that blew up, and because of a situation, an external situation. And it was something that at the time, as a business owner, we connect to our business because we spend most of our lives even doing this stuff, right? And sometimes when we build it, it becomes our baby, right? And so I felt like this was my baby, is this brand I built, and this whole thing's blowing up, and they're gonna come and close down this lot. And I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I was lost. And then I, through work, and this like stuff of realizing the things that we've been talking about today, I realized that, like I was someone who could create, all these things. I was someone who could be, the number one independent car buyer in the Intermountain West. I was someone who could run a team of, at the time, it was 36 people, and, have them, come to me and say, we'll work for you for free. If you shut down the dealership, we'll do anything, for you. In a car business where they're commission based only, and is one of the highest quitting, percentages of industries you could imagine, right? I had one person quit over 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're a great leader. That's a testimony to a great leader. People don't want to leave. Yeah. Which is fabulous. And failure doesn't define who we are. It's actually, I remember years ago thinking rejection is God's protection. Yeah. Right? Like if something fails, that failed, or I look at it as it was just a lesson. It really wasn't even a failure. And I've raised my kids to believe it's not win or lose, it's win or learn. So with regard to the failure, okay, everything is happening for us, like you're upset, obviously, because you put a lot of work into it and it wasn't successful, but all the glory is in the valley. That's where the biggest and best lessons are learned to reach that next mountain peak that's even higher than you've ever been before. Right. Through the valley, through the perceived failures that are truly just lessons. And I also believe everything in divine order and divine timing. Mm-hmm. So if something fails, for the lack of a better word, right, and it's just we feel so rejected and that it didn't succeed, I now look at that and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see what's going to come out of this. Mm-hmm. Okay, like I had my moment of being like, well, that sucks, but then I'm like, ooh, something good's going to come out of this, and it always does. Right. It always does. And before, when we were talking about the medical stuff, and what we focus on expanding, it's the same thing in business. What we're thinking and what we're speaking and how we're acting is what we're creating. So maybe we had to tweak, some of the things that we're doing in business and what we're thinking, what we're speaking, as opposed to speaking into the difficulty of it, or, am I the self-doubt? Am I really going to be able to make this happen? That's just such a big thing. And then it collapses, right? Where you switched that around, and you were like, I'm going to have the biggest dealership in the Intermountain West. And, and so you flip the switch, and then you made it happen. You made it happen because we're all conscious creators. Yeah. And one thing too, that you said, how when you're in that situation and then, you have difficulty seeing the solution, then you look back and you see it as better, right? It's that 2020 hindsight. Yeah. But I've studied that a lot. And there's a reason why that holds true. And it's because when we go through something, even right now, you and I right now, we always, always, always have a limited perspective. Now, there's some things we know, some things we don't know. But when things fail or when things go wrong, there are always things like we literally can't see. Like I can't see my hand right now. Right.
You can see my hand right now. And then you can go, hey, Preston, your hand's right there. And then I can look and I can see my hand. And now I can't unsee my hand. I know it's there. So I had a paradigm shift. I had to gain, but every situation we have a limited perspective, and we go through something and we go, oh, that. And so like my car dealership, blew up, and, my limited perspective was, oh, I'm a failure, at the time. And then, I look back at it, in that hindsight, we have a more broad perspective. And that's why we almost always realize we have a better understanding, and we realize that we're okay. Because we have that broader perspective when we look back at it. And I look back at that situation and go, oh, I wasn't a failure at all. The company that I was working with got acquired by another company, and they forced me to shut down. Like, it had nothing to do with me at all, actually. Like, and I wanted to, make my life miserable because of it and beat myself up. And I told myself I was a failure, right?
Right. And most people do that.
Right.
It's a shame.
And so we do that, but we all have a limited perspective, and we gain it a bigger perspective later, which is often why we can come back and go, okay, that was okay, or I learned my lesson, or my life is better, now. But yeah, it's the same in a lot of different situations. And I've been through the craziest, most traumatic situations in people's lives in coaching, actually in one-on-one coaching, to heal people's trauma. And the same scenario holds true.
Yeah. And it's funny. I've been a life coaching business strategist for over 30 years. I started coaching with the cancer, and the doctors at Sloan Kettering started having their patients call me at home because they couldn't figure out what I was doing in the 90s. And I did it for free for years. And then they told me I should be doing it for a living. And here I am all these years later. And I absolutely love it. The word retirement to me is like, what? Like, I would never stop ever until I take out my last breath. I love coaching. And to your point, and again, you're just fabulous at all these different things that you do. We can never outperform our self-image, right? And we stretch our self-image until we take our last breath. There's always lessons to be learned until we take our last breath. And the people that think they know it all have the most to learn.
Right.
And you're also a champion. I've seen on your Facebook page, for men and their emotions. And speaking out honestly about how we should allow men, and I agree. I have two boys that are 26 and 22, and my daughter's 21. But we should allow men to feel the whole gamut of emotions, as opposed to oppressing them and repressing them and holding them down, and then they come out in different ways. Jordan Peterson, he's another one who's a champion for this, and I love that guy.
Yeah, so, he's brilliant.
Yeah. So, what would you like to say, and to speak to exactly that with regard to men and their emotions?
It's when I started, I don't go backwards. Well, probably 3 years ago, I started a thing called the Save Lives Project. And it's a nonprofit that me and two of my amazing friends started, who are also like psychologists and neuroscientists. And it's to bring up conversations around suicide awareness, but it kind of comes into that same thing where men, that people need a space to be heard, right? Or they need to feel heard. When people what I've found is when people get to a point where they start to, question their lives and question their situations around them, they need to feel heard. And men, like you were bringing up on the topic in particular, have the stigma and the basic subconscious kind of programming to try to deal with the things themselves, and so sometimes that they push that too far, and their life comes collapsing in on them, and they don't realize that it's okay, to talk to someone. And actually, if they talk to someone, probably whoever they talk to would totally understand, what they're going through, because they're another human, right? And they've also gone through crap, because I've realized too over my years of coaching that it doesn't actually matter. That's coming back to the human experiencing. It's the same, like the trauma doesn't matter. The situation doesn't matter. The reason why you're upset doesn't actually, matter. And that's why other humans can relate, because maybe you're sad, maybe you're depressed because you're losing your money, and you're supposed to be a provider for your family as a man or something. And, I've known people in that situation that have even gone to the step of taking their life, right? In that scenario, right? And you go, okay, and to go, okay, I'm going through this scenario, but I can talk to someone, about it, and they'll understand that, they'll be able to empathize that, going through loss is a human experience, and just that inherently makes connection. But people, when they're in that, they don't get it, and they go, oh, there's no way out, and they feel like this is everything, and when in those most extreme scenarios, I just tell people to be extreme, to do extreme change, because sometimes we need extreme change, because extreme change is better than being depressed or being anything worse, along those lines, of things. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, so we need to take care of ourselves and support ourselves, and men can be there for men and talk about that. But I found that, when my dog passed away, I was really sad about that, and I'm a tough guy, and that wrecked me more than I anticipated, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't even think about anything happening to my Molly.
Yeah, right. Oh,
I'm so sorry.
So, that just, I was so sad. And I knew, she's coming up 16 years old. I knew she wouldn't last forever, but like, I didn't realize how sad I would be when she passed away.
I'm so sorry.
And so, but I reached out to a bunch of men, right? And with the dogs, man, the men were awesome. I had CEOs of companies calling me, hey, Preston, we're sharing dog stories, and they're sitting there crying with me on the phone, like big name people, like famous celebrity people, like cool people, and big tough guys, and stuff that you would not think would open up emotionally, and dogs were access point.
Wow.
For men. Wow. It was amazing. But yeah, so you go through an experience like that, and you open up to a bunch of guys, and I am open. So like I did it publicly on, I did a post about it. I was bawling on the post, so I was like, look at him, man, I don't care.
Good.
Because like I'm really raw. Like I don't care. Like you're gonna not like me.
Right, I'm the same way. I don't care. Yeah. There's gonna be people that like you, people that don't like you, and I'm okay. Yeah,
I don't like this guy. He cries on social media. No, but
you though.
And what's funny is like I'm a big tough guy. Like I look small usually when people meet me in face to face. They're like, whoa, you're a lot bigger than I thought, because I'm like 6'3", with my hair I'm like 6'4". I think I maybe look small on Zoom or something, but and I always hug people. So I have like a 6'7" wingspan.
The wingspan.
Yeah, I come in and hug people, and they're like, wow.
I love that. I love that. Aww. Well, that's good. And it's the emotions. You're tapped into your emotions because you're a human being. Yeah. And like you said, everybody walking the planet with a pulse and a soul, which we all have, if we're walking around this planet, we got both, should be allowed to express the full range of emotions. And it should be accepted. I believe that people, you said, want to feel heard. They want to feel understood, and they want to feel loved, like adoration and appreciation. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that you're a champion of that. And I love that you're open about it, and that you get on Facebook and you publicly do it, because when people like you do that, people like us, people in this realm, it gives people permission. Like you're giving other men permission, because they were like, I don't know what they were like, but I'm guessing they were like, oh my God, wow, that's guts, and it's actually okay. I didn't realize it was okay to do that, because the 3D world, everybody looking for validation from the 3D world. Don't ever do that. Stop doing that. If anybody's doing that, don't look to the outer world for validation for anything. You go within.
Yeah.
And if
And that's
feels,
what I call a loss of power. Anything
right.
that you do outside of yourself, you're losing control of your life.
Can
Literally.
you, in the few minutes that we have left, and I know this is a big topic, and I would love to bring you back on, at another time to talk about this.
Yeah.
The subconscious mind is where everything is.
Mm-hmm.
All of our beliefs, good and bad, everything. It's a program like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are going through what you were talking about also with the suicide, and that's extreme, Joe Dispenza says, if you want to, you got to change your personality to change your personal reality. Like you said, they got to make extreme changes, right? And but the subconscious mind is where everything, we're living it out like a robot, not even knowing it because it's subconscious, it's not conscious with senses and stuff. So I love talking about this, but in just a minute or two, how can you explain to people how they can reprogram? Because that's what they need to do. And I love this. I love helping people reprogram the subconscious. It's so fun. For you, how do you help people reprogram their subconscious mind? Because you're also a brain coach.
Yes.
Everything else. So go ahead.
That's my passion. So I run the academy. It's called Formula EQ. My partner's Eldon Hassa, and he's in London. He does the breathing exercises because he has a cool accent. He's like, oh,
that's awesome.
I love him. He's like my brother. But what we do is I came up with a process to reprogram your brain. And like, I'm a car guy and I ran my car dealerships, and I go, okay, if we're going to fix a car, to fix a car, say if there's a bad, the car's not shifting, right? We need to recognize, remove, and replace the parts. We need to recognize there's a problem. We recognize it's transmission. We need to remove their transmission, and then we need to replace it. So we need to put a new transmission in there that works. And that's how you fix a car. Brain's the same way, kind of like a brain mechanic almost, where you go, okay, we need to look at the programs that are happening. First, we need to recognize, and that's the first skill. And a lot of people have zero awareness of what's happening in their life. And there's different tools that they can do to build that awareness, but it's like flexing a muscle. And once you start to create that awareness and you flex that muscle, you'll be able to identify it easier to where it becomes a subconscious process. Like we're talking about, it does it automatically. Just like I want to get a drink, and I just get up and I go get a drink. I don't think I got to push my chair backwards. I got to move my left. Right. I got to keep my balance. I got to grab a cup. I got to squeeze and not drop the cup. Like all that stuff's automatic, right? And so it's same thing is with these patterns where you go, okay, I talk to someone and I feel anxiety, right? Or something like that happens in people's life, right? I go to work, I have a confrontation with someone and I get mad. That's recognition. You're recognizing that it's there and in the spot when it's happening. And so I say the performance measurement is time. The faster you can start this process, the better. And so sometimes we can, and you can see how on track you are. So if someone cuts you off in traffic and you get pissed off, are you mad for 30 seconds? Are you mad for an hour? Are you mad for 2 weeks? Does it just do you go home and hit your wife? Right? Like people do this stuff, right?
Right.
Like, there's all levels, right? Of this stuff. And so you go, okay, what's time? Time's my measurement. Wait, that happens. Boom. Recognize. No, not going to bite into it. 1 second. Okay. Be okay. So recognizing it, removing it, sometimes that's a process. First of all, it's realizing what your perspective was. And I'll tell you right now, it was wrong. So when you built this pattern, sometimes you have to go back to when you first had a pattern like this in your life, and you go through and you discover what you created as a subconscious pattern, or you go back to the last time you had this situation happen in your life and you go, and I went through that and the guy cut me off and I created anger and I created this guy's a prick and I wanted to run him off the road and I created, I needed to get in front of him and all these things. And you go, okay, like none of those things actually exist without me. I actually created all those things in my life. That's removing, and to take ownership of, to take extreme ownership of, because if you don't take ownership of it, you don't have control of it, you can't remove it from your life.
Right.
That's why if you blame things on other people, feel, oh, the other car made me mad, you're going to be a victim to other cars the rest of your life.
Totally. Responsibility, taking responsibility for everything happening in our life is so key. Go ahead.
So so you go, that car cut me off, but I got mad. So you realize that and reframe that in your life, and then you create a new reality to go, I'm not someone who gets mad when I get cut off. And that's the replace, recognize, remove, replace. That's the whole. And sometimes people have a hard time doing that by themselves, so I coach them through it. And I'll do that through even deep trauma in people's lives, and they'll change their life. They'll rebuild all their relationships. They'll go get married to someone. They'll start talking to their daughter they haven't met in 5 years. Like all these things connect because of that energy thing that we're talking about. And we create these subconscious blocks that stop us from being able to show up as a person who's approachable or fixable to the situations that we want to be in. And once we remove those blocks, that subconscious gets out of the way, and it just happens. And it's the secret.
It is the secret. And that's everything. Yeah. Because the subconscious mind is literally how we're living out 95% of our day. So if you can reprogram the subconscious mind, you're living your best life. I wake up every morning and I'm like, thank you, God, just for waking up. And then I always say there's 16 hours of endless opportunities in front of me. There's 16 hours of pure potential in front of me. I can't wait to see the people, place, and things that are going to come into my life today. And you have the power to set your own state of how you're going to get out in front of the morning, with the meditation and journaling and visualizing and all that kind of stuff. Time goes so fast with you. Really quick story. I was getting ready to go to Arizona, where I saw Mark and Sharon and Eric and John, all those guys. And so I had to drive to the bank. I've been in my house 26 years, right? So I've been driving to the bank all the time. So I got to the bank and I was not conscious the whole time I was driving. I was thinking about all the things I had to get done, right? So I got to the bank and I was like, oh my God, that was fast, like I can't believe I'm here and I don't even remember the ride. But the subconscious mind did it so many times and I thought, what a great metaphor for teaching about the subconscious mind, because I was in my driveway, which was where I was at. I needed to get to the bank, which is where I want to go. It could be personally or professionally, right, in life, where I want to go. And the subconscious mind bridged the gap and got me there. That's the job of the subconscious, is to bridge, just know where you want to go, know where you're at, know where you want to go, forget the how. The inspired ideas will happen, right? The inspired ideas will come, take the action, because The Secret was, I loved when the movie The Secret came out, because I was doing it since 1991. So when the movie The Secret came out, I was like, now everybody's going to know about this. I'm so excited, We didn't talk enough about the action. So everybody thought that they just have to think, and everything's just going to come to them. But without the action piece, you got to keep showing up in life. I'm a huge proponent of just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. That's the key. I could talk to you all day long, and I want to respect your time. We're over by a few minutes, but I wanted you to tell people how they can reach out to you. Go ahead. I have your website. You.
So I'm looking for experts who want to publish their book and have a training program built behind it and have a whole brand built to support them. So anyone who is an expert out there who wants to join me, go to 10stepbooks.com. Spell it any way you want. I own all domains. And 10-step books. And anyone who's into the mindset stuff, come check out Formula EQ. Go to formulaeq.com and you can come join us for a session for free there if you go to the website. And if you want to get into the automations, check out Business Force One, and it'll automate all the business stuff. So those are my plugs for today. But
I love it. And then 10 steps, it's the number 10. 10 step books, plural, with the number 10.com.
Yeah, I own it. TEN.
I own books.
Smart, I own books. I own 10 dash step.
So you covered it all.
Yeah, I got you.
I have erinley.com, and it's spelled the way I spell it, Ley, and I have Erin Ley, LAY.com for people that misspell it. So I have the same thing, like with all my different websites, I have redirection so it goes to the right place. That's awesome. You are such a blessing. And I'm so happy that I got to know you and that my listening audience got to know you. And everybody has to not walk, but run and get in touch with Preston, because I mean, there's nothing but growth ahead, you know, when they connect with you. You're an amazing man doing amazing work in this world. And I'm so happy and grateful now that I got to know you.
Thank
So
you. Thank you so much for having me and for putting this show on and for helping spread the message of amazing people. So your work is great. So thank you.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you. All right. So and just hang on for 1 second. So I'll catch up with you offline, off the Facebook Live. For everybody watching and listening, have a magnificent day. And always remember to live onward and upward. Love you.